My girlfriend said, "I'd choose Mark if he ever asked me." I replied, "I'm not a safety net." Then I thanked her parents, drove home alone, packed 8 bags of her stuff, reset the smart locks and garage code, and sat with a bourbon as her dad drove her back and a new name lit up her phone. Welcome back to Reddit Tales. In today's story, a man realizes his girlfriend has been keeping him as the safe option while she stays emotionally loyal to her ex. As you listen, ask yourself what you would do if your partner admitted you were second choice. I think deep down, most people can feel when they're being kept around as a backup plan. We just don't like saying it out loud, because once you say it, you have to do something about it. For 2 years, I was Alina's safe guy. I was the one paying the mortgage on my 3-bedroom house in the suburbs. I was the one funding her reset trips when she decided her marketing job was draining her soul. Bali, Chilum, weekend escapes that somehow always turned into my credit card and her healing. I was the one who listened to her vent for hours, rubbed her feet, kept her car serviced, kept the fridge full. I was stable, reliable, and Alina loved reminding me I was sweet. But I wasn't Mark. Mark was the ex before me, the ghost that lived in our relationship without paying rent. Alina used to describe him like a warning label. Musician, unemployed, borrowed money he never paid back. Temper problems that ended with holes punched in drywall. But when she talked about him, her eyes didn't look angry. They looked alive. That was the first sign, not what she said, how she lit up while saying it. He just had this intensity, she'd tell me, staring off while I cooked dinner. Life with him was never boring. She'd admit he was toxic, then say it like the toxicity was part of the appeal. Then she'd look back at me and add, "With you, everything is just quiet." Quiet in her mouth didn't mean peaceful. It meant dull. So I tried to compensate. I took her to expensive restaurants. I bought the jewelry she hinted at. I tried to be more spontaneous. And every time I did something nice, she'd pat me with this pleased little smile like I was a dog that fetched a stick. "You're such a good provider," she told me once. Not lover, not partner, provider. The disrespect was subtle at first, jokes about my job being soul-crushing while she spent the money it brought in. Late-night calls with friends where she'd leave the room. Little comments that made it clear she saw me as useful, not chosen, and she never fully moved in. She spent most nights at my house, ate my food, used my utilities, filled my space with her stuff, but she kept her tiny, overpriced apartment across town for independence. I offered to let her move in fully, rent-free, so she could save money. "I'm not ready to close that door yet," she said. "I need to know I have an escape hatch." She called it trauma from Mark. Everything was always about Mark. If I was 5 minutes late, I was disrespecting her time just like Mark. If I was attentive, I was smothering, unlike Mark, who gave her space. I was fighting a person who wasn't even in the room, and I was losing. I stayed because I loved her. I thought if I was stable enough, she'd eventually understand that peace is better than chaos. I was wrong. Last Sunday we went to dinner at her parents' house. I actually liked her parents, Martha and David. They were old school, hardworking, and they treated me well. They knew how much drama Alina put them through in her 20s, and they looked at me like relief. That night we had roast chicken, wine, light conversation. David asked me about the market. Martha kept smiling at Alina like she was proud. Then the conversation shifted to the future. Martha raised her glass and said, "David and I were talking, and we realized you two have been together for 2 years now. We're so happy for you, Alina. You seem so much more grounded." Alina stiffened beside me. She swirled her wine and stared at it like it had answers. "Grounded," she repeated flat. "Yes, honey," Martha said gently. David nodded. "Compared to the last few years, especially that mess with Mark, we were genuinely worried about you back then. That guy was a parasite, seeing you with him." He nodded toward me. "It's night and day. You finally have a real man." The air changed. Alina set her glass down hard enough to make the silverware jump. "Can we not talk about Mark like he was a monster?" she snapped. Martha looked confused. "Alina, he stole from us. He cheated on you. He was awful." He was misunderstood, Alina said, voice sharp. He was an artist. He had passion. He didn't care about retirement plans and lawn maintenance and boring suburban conversations. He made me feel things. I sat frozen, fork halfway to my mouth. I leaned toward her and said, low, relax. They're trying to compliment us. She turned slowly to look at me. Her eyes were glassy from the wine, but her expression was clear. Contempt. She let out a short laugh. A compliment, she said like the word tasted bad. They're complimenting you because you're safe. You're the safe option. You're the guy a girl settles down with when she's tired of being hurt. David's face turned red. Alina, that's enough. She didn't stop. She leaned closer to me, chin resting on her hand, a smirk forming. That smirk told me everything. She thought I'd take it. She thought I'd smooth it over. She thought I'd prove my place by staying quiet. Then she said it, loud and calm, like she was stating a fact. Let's be real. You know I'd choose Mark if he ever asked. The room went silent. Martha gasped and covered her mouth. David looked like he wanted to stand up and shout. But nobody moved. Alina kept smirking, waiting for me to do what I always did. This is the moment most people either swallow their pride or finally accept the truth. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt empty, like a light shut off. I placed my napkin on the table. I pushed my chair back. The scrape of wood on the floor was the only sound. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and looked at her parents. Martha, the chicken was excellent, I said. David, thank you for the wine. You've always treated me like family, and I appreciate that. Martha's eyes filled with tears. Please wait. I didn't look at Alina, not even once. I'm going to head out, I said calmly. Alina's voice shifted from smug to confused. Where are you going? We drove together. I walked to the front door. She followed, louder now. Are you seriously leaving me here? Don't be dramatic. I didn't answer. Listen, she called after me, voice rising. If you walk out that door, don't expect me to be there when you come back crawling. I closed the door gently behind me and walked to my car. I drove home in silence. No radio, just the tires on the road. 10 minutes in, my phone started buzzing. Missed calls, texts. You're embarrassing. Pick up. You left me at my parents'. My dad is screaming at me because of you. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and tossed it onto the passenger seat. When I pulled into my driveway, I looked at my house. My house. The one I bought 3 years ago. The one Alina had slowly filled with her things, her noise, and her disrespect. I walked inside and the silence greeted me. This time it didn't feel lonely. It felt clean. I didn't sit down. I went to the kitchen, grabbed heavy-duty trash bags, and headed to the bedroom. I wasn't in a rage. I was methodical. Like I was doing a task I should have done months ago. Closet first. Designer coats. Dresses I bought for events I didn't want to attend. Shoes everywhere, into bags. Bathroom next. Skincare lined up like a display. Makeup across the counter. Hair tools into bags. Living room, her throw pillows. Her books. Her framed photos of us. Her iPad that I paid for into bags and boxes. In 45 minutes, every trace of her was gone from the inside of my home. I stacked 8 black bags and 2 boxes neatly on the front porch, right by the door, not on the curb. I wasn't trying to destroy her things. I just wanted them out of my space. Then I opened the Smart Lock app. User Alina. Status active. Delete user. I did the back door next, then the garage code. Then I poured myself a glass of bourbon, the good stuff I saved, and sat on the couch. I checked my phone. 25 missed calls, 40 texts. The tone had shifted. My dad is driving me home. You better be there. This isn't funny. I'm sorry I said that. I was drunk. Stop being a baby. We're 5 minutes away. A car pulled into the driveway. Doors slammed. Voices rose outside. I heard David's voice, furious, but not at me. Then silence. She must have seen the bags. The doorknob rattled. It didn't turn. She punched the code. The keypad beeped. Then rejected her. She tried again, faster, harder, rejected, then pounding. Open the door, she screamed. This isn't funny. I didn't move. I didn't shout back. I just sat there and watched the door shake. You can't do this, she yelled. I live here. She didn't, not really. She made a point of reminding me she had her own place and wasn't tied down. She wasn't on the deed, not on the utilities. She was a guest who treated the host like furniture. My dad is right here, she screamed. Open the door. Then David's voice, muffled but clear. Alina, stop, you did this. Grab your bags. No, she screamed, voice cracking. He can't lock me out. He's done, David said, tired now. Look at the bags, he's done. Get in the car, Alina shrieked. I'm calling the police. I picked up my phone and typed one message. You said you'd choose him, go to him. I hit send. Outside, her screaming stopped for a second, then a heavy thud hit the door like she kicked it. I hate you, she yelled. You're pathetic. Mark was twice the man you are, David barked. Alina, get in the car, now. I listened as the bags dragged across the concrete. A car door opened, then slammed. The engine started, the car backed out, and the house went quiet again. That silence was the best sound I had heard in 2 years. The next morning, the sunrise looked brighter than usual. I checked my phone. More messages, more calls. By 3:00 a.m., she had moved from anger to bargaining. Can we talk, please? I'm at my apartment. The heat isn't working. I miss you. You're throwing away 2 years because of one sentence. Then came the mutual friends. Alina is a mess. Don't you think you're being harsh? Just hear her out. This is where people try to make you responsible for the consequences of someone else's disrespect. I didn't reply to any of them. Around 1:00 a.m., I got a text from Martha. I am so sorry. David and I are mortified. We told her she isn't welcome back here until she fixes her life. We love you. Whatever you decide, we understand. That was the only message I answered. Thank you, Martha. I appreciate you both, but I'm done. That weekend, I did things I hadn't done in months. I went to the gym without worrying about checking in. I ordered pizza I actually liked. I watched a movie without someone blasting videos beside me, and Alina didn't come back. No more banging on the door. By Wednesday, her social media tone shifted. Since tears weren't working, she tried to hurt me. She posted an old photo of her and Mark. Grainy, dark, trying hard to look edgy. The caption was about finding her fire again, with a line about being done with boring. She didn't tag me, but it was for me. She wanted jealousy. She wanted me to compete with the ghost again. I looked at it and felt relief. She was someone else's problem now. 3 weeks later, the fantasy crashed into reality. I didn't go looking for updates, but in a mid-sized town, news moves fast. Mike, one of the mutual friends who originally defended her, met me for a beer and told me what happened. Alina did go to Mark. After I locked her out and her parents refused to take her in, she went straight to him. She probably expected a dramatic reunion, 2 people falling back into passion. The reality was that Mark was 34, unemployed, and living in a basement apartment with 2 roommates. She stayed there for a week, Mike said, shaking his head. It was a nightmare. What happened? I asked. He didn't want a girlfriend, Mike said. He wanted a fan. He borrowed $2,000 from her on the second day for an investment. Did she give it to him? Yep, Mike said. Maxed out her card. She thought she was investing in his music. It got worse. Without nostalgia, Mark wasn't intense. He was just cruel. He mocked her, flirted with other women in front of her, told her she was too suburban now, like he was punishing her for growing up. The final crash came when Alina tried to confront him about drinking. Mark laughed at her, called her a nagging wife, and kicked her out at 2:00 a.m. so he could bring another girl home. She called you crying, Mike said. She has nowhere to go. She gave up her apartment lease because she thought she'd move in with Mark, or you'd beg her back. She's sleeping on Jessica's couch. I listened like he was talking about someone I used to know in high school. It was sad, but it didn't hurt. She wants to talk to you, Mike said carefully. She knows she messed up. She says Mark was a mistake. She says you're the only man who ever treated her with respect. She's right, I said. I did treat her with respect, and she used it as proof she could disrespect me. I put cash on the table for the bill. No chance, I said. She told her parents to my face she would choose him. She got what she asked for. I'm not the consolation prize. 6 months passed. My life got better in ways I didn't expect. My career took off. I slept better. I felt lighter. I started dating a pediatrician named Sarah, a woman who asked me how my day was and actually listened to the answer. I didn't hear from Alina for a long time. I assumed she'd moved on to someone new. Then came a mutual friend's wedding, one I couldn't skip. I brought Sarah, not as protection, but because she was my partner. During cocktail hour, I saw Alina across the reception hall near the bar. She looked smaller, tired. Her dress looked older. She was drinking hard and scanning the room like she was searching for a lifeboat. Her eyes locked on me. Then they slid to Sarah, laughing softly at something I said, her hand resting on my arm. Alina's face fell. She downed her drink and walked straight toward us. I turned to face her without flinching. "Op," she said, voice rough. "Alina," I nodded. "This is Sarah," I said. Sarah smiled, polite and warm. "Hi, Alina, nice to meet you." Alina ignored her. She stared at me with wet, desperate eyes. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Just a minute, alone." "I don't think there's anything to say," I replied. "Please," she whispered. "I need to apologize. Mark was nothing. You were everything. I took it for granted." She reached for my arm. I stepped back, just enough to make it clear there would be no touching. "Alina," I said, calm, "you don't need to apologize." "Yes, I do," she insisted, tears spilling. "I miss you. I miss us. I miss the house. I miss my best friend. Can't we get coffee and start over?" The audacity was almost impressive. She truly believed that because her first choice failed, she could rewind me. I looked at her and searched for anger, for revenge, for some leftover softness. There was nothing, just a quiet certainty. "We can't start over," I said. "Why?" she pleaded. "Because of her." She nodded toward Sarah. "No," I said, "because of you." Alina froze. "You spent 2 years treating me like a waiting room," I continued. "You waited for something better. You got it. You got the chaos you called passion." "I didn't want it," she sobbed. "I wanted you." "No," I said. "You want me now because the other option failed. You want safety again, but I'm not a safety net. I'm a person." I took Sarah's hand. "I'm happy, Alina," I said. "Genuinely happy, and my life got better the moment you left it." I kept my voice steady because I wasn't trying to punish her. I was just telling the truth. "I don't hate you," I added. "I just don't have a vacancy for you anymore." Alina stood there, mascara running, mouth open, like she couldn't understand a world where she didn't get to choose the ending. "Take care of yourself," I said. Then I turned away and walked Sarah onto the dance floor. The music started. The lights dimmed. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't asking if I was enough. I knew I was. And Alina became what she always was in my life, a distraction I finally stopped entertaining. Lesson 1. If someone keeps one foot out the door, believe them. They are not building with you. Lesson 2. Being stable is not a flaw. The problem is staying with someone who calls stability boring while living off it. Lesson 3. If a partner compares you to an ex like it's a competition, you are not in a relationship. You are in a trial you cannot win. Lesson 4. The moment someone says you are second choice, the only respectful move is to treat it like a final answer. Lesson 5. Closure does not have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's just locking the door on the role they assigned you. What would you have done at that dinner table after hearing, "You know I'd choose Mark if he ever asked"? And do you think the lockout was too harsh, or the first real boundary he set in 2 years?